Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going over how to control a market. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so today we are going to be going over how to control a market. Well, now this will be broken up into a few different types of sections in order for me to go over it in a sense. Now, one thing of note that I would like to start off is why now? Why do I make this video, and why should you do it at this moment in time? Well, at this moment in time, I have found that the prelude towards a new X pack or a pre-patch is probably the best time to actually buy out mats. This is when usually things are being sold off for a lot cheaper than they really should be, because people just want to get rid of their stock. This is when you can capitalize on this by resetting markets in order to get the better bang for the buck for a little bit of time invested. Now, the best thing for this actually at the moment is due to the fact that a lot of things are on sale. Now this would tend to be towards like materials more specifically, because to be honest, you don't really want to be doing all those insane flips and all that jazz. It's mainly just resetting markets in order to basically get a decent amount. So what you want is a faster seller in order to flip those materials in order to get the best return. Obviously a lot of people actually do like BOE flips and all that stuff, but that usually is when like the first raids come out and like new raids are in and all that jazz, and I stay clear of that because I'm not that good at that type of stuff, so I don't feel confident talking about it. But when it comes to material flipping, I am pretty happy on talking about this overall and how you can actually do it. Now, as you can see, when we go into TSM, I have actually started off with a decent amount, and it's just a case of forget Monday. I actually went down to a small amount of gold, and then I've trickled it up every single day using this method in order to actually show you guys how you can actually do it. Obviously I didn't post yesterday because otherwise I would have got some gold from that, but it seems to be steadily going up, and that is because I am going into TSM and basically just going into farming. Now when it comes into farming and all that jazz with all of this, I basically get all of the stuff that I am wanting to sell. Obviously I haven't actually divvied up all of this stuff yet into its necessary categories, but that's beyond the point. The things that I am actually searching for are basically all the different types of cloths, all the different types of enchanting materials, as well as a few different types of fish that I know sell well, in gems, herbs, inks, and all of that. Now inks I don't really tend to do because I have most of them in crafting, so I forget that one overall because I don't really want to flip those. What I tend to do is I craft the inks for a profit and then sell those. So that is something that you want to factor out when it comes to that, if you want to do something like along those lines. But you can add them in like I've done with the Viridescent ink. When it comes to meats, the only thing I've been looking at is meaty haunch. You can add anything in that you want. I've just added things that sell well for me. So overall, like all of the miscellaneous stuff from like Kata, Mop, like volatiles, eternals, essences, and all that jazz, I've added that in for miscellaneous. All the different types of ores and all of that. Basically, what I'm actually doing is overall with all of these with this group of farming for different types of herbs and or ores or materials in general. What I'm doing is I'm going into the auction house, so let's jump into this, open that up, and all I do is go into the browse feature, select my group, and I run a shopping scan. This will then tell me what is going about on the actual auction house, and it will tell me on a percentage basis what's actually happening. Now, what I'm actually looking for is undervalued materials in which I can then resell for a profit. Now, some of these materials you may need to get a bit swanky with, like actually get actually know the market quite well before you start investing. Like, don't buy stuff if you don't know if it's going to sell. It's the same thing with Shadow Dranite. It is 31 silver at the moment and it's 13% under the market value. Now that I know won't sell all that fast, but you can double check to see how fast it actually does sell using the TSM tooltip, which is a sell rate of 0.06. Obviously, we don't want to resell that because it's not going to give us our turnaround high enough to actually get our gold back for that. We're looking for things that have a sell rate of over 0.1 and things that we know that can actually sell, like the nether web spider silk. It is at a 0.12. And we can see that it is 27% under the market value. So what we'd ideally want to do there is we'll want to buy out the nether web spider silk. So we could go into buyout and we can buy anything under this type of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy up to about here, and then I'm going to buy the commodity. That's it. And then all I'll do is I'll repost it for 100% of that material, because materials seem to fluctuate quite a bit, and usually you'll be able to sell that on for a profit. And that is pretty much all I'm doing. I'm buying undervalued materials and then reselling them for their actual market value. So other than that, let's just crack on and have a look at all the other different things that are there. So Essence of Earth, it has a sell rate of 0.1. It's 98 silver. So what I'll do is I will buy everything up to probably about there. Will probably do for me. If I want to be really greedy, I could go up to about that 61% there. Now, going with that, we're going to go back and we're going to do a proper shopping scan, and let's talk about how I actually do my buying method. Now, my buying method is I like to keep it really simple. I don't want to take stupid amounts of risk when it's involved with buying out all of that different types of stuff. Now, ideally, I like to go with things such as like 60% or less I will buy. That is my rule. It's the 60% rule, and if I'm resetting a market, I will go up to 60% of that current item. So if it's 60% of there, so I'll probably stop at 60%. So 59% is the firefin snappers. Anything under there is potential buys, is what I go with. And what I'll then look at then is the sell rate to see how much is actually going to sell with, and then I will then have a gander. Obviously, I'm going to pause the scan because I want to buy some Ice Web Spider Silk because I know it sells quite well. And what I want to do is I'll reset it. Now, looking at this before I buy it, I see that that is at 65%. I could take the risk, but with my 60% rule, I'll only buy anything under 65% and keep to that factor. So I'm buying all of those for 3 gold, 287 of them for 30% of the market value. I'll buy those, and then that resets that to, and then I can reset that to 5 gold with the others by undercutting those materials. So that's what I'll do and tend to actually do overall. So when it comes to like shark crystals, 0.19, I'm going to buy anything under 60%. So then I can then buy out all of that, and then I will reset those, especially with the abyss crystals as well. So this comes to under things like common mistakes that you would actually do is stuff that doesn't sell. Heavenly shards, that's undervalued or not. Actually, no, I wouldn't probably buy those because at this moment in time, it doesn't seem to be that profitable, because heavenly shards, they do take a while to sell, but they don't at the same time. It really does depend on your server. This is why you've got to learn your markets before you buy stuff, because you kind of get a good feel on how fast something will sell. Like ethereal crystals, I know I can sell that on for a profit without even looking at it. I don't have to dig into it. It comes with practice. When you actually do this, you'll work out which ones you're losing out on, which ones are you winning on, and all that jazz. So like, have a look at huge emeralds. I know that they sell really well, but they are currently overvalued at the moment. They're usually only about like 10 gold or less. So what I'll tend to do is I'll be like, actually, 60% rule does not apply for this particular item, so then I won't buy it. End of story. With Strangle Kelp, that is pretty high valued, but I know it sells really well at a 0.35. So what I'll do is I'll buy up to to 60% and then I'll buy it. It's really that dead simple, really, and that is something that I do tend to do. It's like greater return on essence. I know that will sell really well, buy up to 60%, done. And then all I'll do is I'll go to my mailbox, I'll collect all of the items that are in that I've done, and then I'll reset them for that price. And then all I'll do is I'll scan it, and they bought them at a range of different ones. Highest is 1 gold, 90 silver, and 12 silver for 1. Now, I'm actually reselling those for 6, 7 gold. They sell really fast on my experience on my server, so this does take a lot of practice in order to do, and then I know that I'll probably be able to make a profit on it. That's how I'm getting all those figures right there. So overall, that is pretty much what I'll be doing. This takes literally about 10 minutes a day in order to do another 5 minutes of scanning all of your materials once you've got your group set up for those materials that you want to keep an eye on, and then you can just buy those out. Now, what actually happened was I started with 20,000 gold, and what I did for the rest of this week was doing 10 minutes of buying out stuff and reselling them for their market price. So starting off on that Monday at 25,000 gold, we actually went up by resetting the markets of what I've just showed you, and we've actually gone up and we have then bought out and made a load of gold, which was 170,000. Now, if you can see on my expenses, I actually did buy a vial of the sand during that week as well, with some of the profit that I actually made, and that is now in the guild bank. So this is what I've been doing, literally 15 minutes, probably max, doing it, just buying out low materials and reselling them for their market price. And I've gone from 25,000 to 170 at its max. We are currently on 129,000 because I spent a load of gold on materials again, because we've just been scaling up and reselling, and overall it's actually been doing quite well. So that is basically what I have been doing for this week, is just resetting markets when it comes to materials, using my 60% rule of buying out materials and then reselling them. The next thing of note is a common mistake. Do not, and I repeat, do not. I did mention this on the Patreon because this was actually posted on the Patreon about a week ago. So obviously, yeah, I already did a guide on it, and now obviously it's been a week, so I'm going to be talking about it now because Patrons get a head start. But that being the case, the upticks for this is pretty good. There is a common mistake, it is fragments and or stems. This comes from like nuggets as well, from like mining, skinning and all of that stuff. You don't want to buy those. Fragments or motes of stuff, you don't really want to buy those. You want to buy the actual materials, not the fragments or the nuggets of ore and herbs and stuff. You don't want to buy those. You want to buy the pure materials that are undervalued and reset for the market price. Do not play with the other ones because you will lose gold, and that is something I had to find out the hard way while testing the last couple of weeks. Now, the next things of note that I would say is, you're probably going to ask how much gold you're going to start with. That is why I started at 25k. I was trying to prove a point that you can start on 25k. You're literally going to have to be a bit smart when it comes to what you're going to buy, what items you're going to be undervalued that you're going to be resetting. But overall, it's a very easy way in order to do. Now, you can always set this up however you wish, and personally, I find this to be a great way in order to make a sizable amount of gold, and that is just resetting markets. Other than that, guys, that's not really all I have to really talk about, really, because it's really just buying stuff that is undervalued and then reselling it for its current market price, and it seems to be working quite well for the average person being myself. So I would like to see what you guys can actually achieve with all of this stuff. Obviously, it's a low capital, low barrier to entry to actually do when it comes to materials. Now, if you wanted to get into mounts, you're going to need a huge upfront capital to get started in order to flip and reset mounts. So I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you've got a huge amount of gold to actually play with. I've done this on a lower scale using materials which are fast selling in order for just the average person to make at least a WoW token every month just by passively resetting markets on materials. And overall, from 25k to, as it stands, 129k within the space of 5 days, we have done very well. And that means that if you're on a higher pop server that fluctuates quite well, this is definitely something that I would recommend doing, because you can essentially pay for WoW within a couple of weeks of just flipping the materials. So this goes for the average player who just wants to pay for their subscription, and you can do this easily by resetting markets, and you still have a bit of gold to play around with afterwards. Other than that, guys, that is pretty much all I have to say for today. Have an awesome rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow. If you want to support the channel and help make the channel even better, then why not check out the Patreon? Members get additional info, gold making resources, and Patreon specific content. The link is located in the description down below. Thank you and have an awesome day.